as much as I'm capable of teaching obedience, I didn't know and understand the specifics of the rules. And that's what makes you a very good handler in French ring, is understanding the rules, because you can cost your dog so many points. And I didn't want to do that for my dog. And I, to the extent of what I obviously can control, and there's things that happen.
And the first thing that I say to everybody after is what?
Slow down.
Slow down. It's the first thing I told Carly when she started training with me. The first thing I said, her healing routine with her German Shepherd looked like an IPO. She was off to the races. She was flying, and it's very pretty. But guess what? French ring doesn't score based on that. They score based on where the dog's head is and relevance to your need, the position of the dog, and the...
Hi, everybody, and welcome to my podcast. I'm Lianne Shinton from Automation Dogs. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Carly Brandimarte. Welcome, Carly.
Hi.
Hi. And Chad Hunter. Hi, Chad.
Hi, guys.
Hey. So, Carly, if you weren't on Dog Book recently, Carly and Chad just had an amazing accomplishment competing in French ring at the France National, and you won, which was incredible. Congratulations to you, Carly, and to you, Chad, as well, because this is huge for your kennel. And I saw something on Facebook from my breeder saying, I don't think people realize how big of an accomplishment this really is. So congratulations. Also seeing you on Ivan's podcast. And I wrote down something he wrote about your kennel. And he said, like, that's an amazing accomplishment of its own. 2 dogs on the top of the game. So that was something he gave pause to in the podcast, and seeing that, was really powerful. And I hope people really realize that your dogs are absolutely incredible.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
So, just as a little icebreaker before we get started, I like to ask a fun question. So, if Jurassic Park were a real park and you could go visit the dinosaurs, Carly, would you go?
Wow. Yeah, I think so. I think I'd go.
And Chad, would you go?
Zero hesitation. I'd be there in a heartbeat.
I think I was just
I didn't even know why she hesitated.
Well, I
I'm
thought there
like,
was going to be more.
Either yes or no.
I thought there was going to be more. I'm like, we are talking about dinosaurs, not dogs. Okay.
Well, yeah, I think it says something about, a person if they're a little bit more of a risk taker. You know David Broderick. I've come from a Mondio ring background, so I know David. I know he was in France with you guys. And when I asked him that, he said, of course I would. I would right on. I would be right there. I want a clicker train of Velociraptor. And I thought that was freaking hilarious. Right? Right. So I think we need to use AI. Yeah, we need to use AI, and we need to put David into the Jurassic Park clicker training a Velociraptor.
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect.
That's David. My brain went to, okay, well, I'm like a thinker, so like there has to be a plan. So I'm like, I can't just be like, yeah, I'm doing that for sure, unless it was like something that I guess I'm always thought of doing. But I guess I haven't really thought about going to Jurassic Park much.
Now, let's dig into a little bit about your guys' amazing accomplishment here. Could you share a little bit about, I'd asked you before we got started, making sure I'm saying his name right, but the amazing Maestro.
That's it. Said it perfectly.
And I had to look it up before we started, because I was thinking, and maybe I'm speaking Canadian, because that's where I'm from, but we say Meistro, and Meistro means I'm just kind of looking at the actual definition, but I thought it was pretty powerful. It's Italian, and it means the master or teacher And I thought that was pretty powerful. But I'm saying it in a Canadian way. So tell me about his name first since we're on that.
Well, I'll actually jump in on that one.
Yeah.
So it's actually very fun with how his name evolved because very little people know that he was actually my dog before he was her dog. And I had him, obviously, he was bred and
And
born and
born.
raised right here in this house. And he was my pick of the litter basically since they were 3 or 4 weeks old. I just had my eye on him, and he just, of course, all the features and qualities that you like to see in puppies for, specific sport homes and having experience in the back and of having, other dogs from the past. I said this particular puppy I'm keeping my eye on, and he was 7 weeks old. I had him out on my field. And I was doing a little session with him, a little prey drive session with the rag, getting him to chase the rag and using a stick with him. And he's just super, just almost like he is now. Just he's almost been the same dog since day one. It's just been such a cool dog. And my neighbor from down the road was walking down the street and said, "Hey, that's a cute puppy." And I'm like, "Thanks." And he says, "What's his name?" I said, "I don't know, Gray Collar," because he was the gray collar. I said, "I don't have a name." And I'm kind of old school in the sense to where like I don't really name my dogs until it really like clicks and I like really feel this and feel that. Sometimes my dogs are 4 or 5 months old before I name them. And I said, I don't have a name for him yet, but it's got to start with an M because this is my M litter. All the puppies in the litter start with the letter M. He goes, "Man, Maestro would be such a cool name." And I literally took a step back and I looked at him. I said, "Thank you." I said, "That will be his name." And literally from that day on, that was his name. And so it was pretty cool. People always smile when I tell them that story.
It's like from that day on, you knew he was going to be a great puppy. From that day on, you knew this was going to be the perfect name for him. And so I'm saying Maestro, but it's Maestro. So it's that accent that I'm missing. You
Yes. Yeah.
need to lean into the Canadian, French Canadian.
And his name now, like, it actually, I feel like it really does fit him, like what a maestro is, however way you want to say it. Like, if you search it, a master of your craft, like the best of the best, like it very much fits him being a very powerful name too. And like, he's a very, very powerful dog and in a lot of ways. So, got to thank the neighbor the next time I see him because I think I've only met him one time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't technically get Maestro until he was like 10 months old.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's when I moved to Arizona from New York and he was kind of just hanging out here and Chad was like kind of back and forth on what he was doing and he had his dog at the time that was injured and then he like kind of just started to bring him back and so he was like, all right, I actually have some more time with my old dog and he kind of just fell into my lap. It was like, I think inevitable, but I definitely did not intend on getting a Malinois when I moved out here, and it happened very quickly.
Wow. So little puppy, just pick of the litter. Awesome. Ended up in your hands, Carly. When did you
My
think
hands,
we're going to France? When did you think I have big aspirations for this little puppy?
you know,
It wasn't until way later on.
yeah, it wasn't until basically he got into ring 3 that it was even remotely a thought. It was I think for the
Hmm.
first 2-ish years of his life, Chad and I were really just trying to keep him alive because he's so fast and so reckless. And then we finally did his first ring 3 and we had brought out a French decoy and we were kind of just chatting with him about the selectifs and the process in France. And he was like, you really should try to do that with this dog. Like I could really see this dog
Hmm.
doing well. And then I think Chad and I kind of just looked at each other and we were like, could we do it? Like, do we want to try and do it? Like there was a lot of variables that kind of went into it. And that's when we were like, all right, I guess let's give it a go.
Awesome. So it took some time for you guys to go down this path with Maestro.
Yeah, mainly because I mean, I had a German Shepherd before him, but he's like my first upper level dog that I've ever competed with. So it was not that I didn't think the dog was capable of it. It was more so just, okay, like it's a lot for a handler to go and do these things too. So, and I've made my fair share of mistakes. I'm sure Chad can can tell you.
It had always been something that I have dreamt of for 15 years since I've been heavily involved in the sport. I just didn't have really the time and the resources to be able to go to France and compete over there. And I always told myself, if I'm going to do it, I want to do it with a dog that can be a contender for sure. Obviously I'd like to go play with any dog in France over there, but with how much commitment, time, resources, the money, everything that's involved with that, I was telling myself, we need to play with an exceptional dog, a dog that's definitely more than capable. So kind of make it worth our while in a sense. And we just reached a point with him where we just had thought about it, and we just kind of had the confirmation from a handful of other people, like, hey, I don't think you understand that. I think you could do very well with this dog if you go over there. And we were kind of at a point to where we did now have the resources and the possibilities to be able to do so. And so we just looked at each other and said, okay, I guess we're doing this. So that's kind of how it went.
And we keep talking about him. Tell us a little bit about, like, what's his funniest quirk? Like, tell us about this dog.
Oh, he's a character. I think his quirks are also what make me really like him. I mean, the people see him as this really fast, really reckless, but technical, and his obedience is very precise, and he puts 100% effort into everything he does on the field. And then, like, off the field in my house, he's never 2 feet away from me, completely glued to my side, just a really funny dog. I mean, like, if I'm laying on the couch and he comes to come lay with me, he's going to be upside down on his back in 3 seconds. Like, he's a lover with all of his people that he likes. Everyone in my house, like, same way with Chad, with my daughter. It doesn't take much to get him excited. Like, life is just very exciting for him. So I feel like between me and Chad, he probably hears "chill out" 400 times a day. What would you
Chill
say
out.
is, yeah, exactly. It's him right now. It's like, someone's coming in the house. What would you say is what makes him?
We joke all the time and say that he's a very special, almost like a special needs dog because of how just like sometimes we look at him and we're like, I can't believe that you can do the things that you can. And you are very special. I mean, we'll sit there and we'll be in bed and I'll even just mention his name just lightly under my breath. And he's upside down on the bed in between us, paws straight up with his tongue hanging on the side of his mouth, just looking at me
Yeah.
like, oh, cool. You must have mentioned my name. So,
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, like she said, and like she had actually said it perfectly. And when we did the podcast with Ivan too, that the dog even pees with 110% of everything he does. He breathes, he eats, the way he goes potty, everything he does is 110%. And it's a blessing and a curse.
For sure.
What's Maestro's favorite exercise in French ring?
And French ring?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's a good one. No one's ever asked me that before. And
Not
I
your
don't know.
favorite. His
Face attack.
favorite.
Yeah.
Face attack.
Face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Running down the field and knowing I'm going to do everything in my power to get a hold of you. Like and then when he misses, then he's like, okay, now I'm coming back. We're doing this again. It's just like the technicality and just how his brain processes that. I think I would say that's his favorite exercise.
Yeah. It's hard because it's like I said, he thoroughly enjoys doing everything. Like, he was a super easy dog to train. I mean, like, super motivated in every way, shape, or form, wants to please, please, please. Like, that's just part of what makes him so cool too, is like, he likes to bite, but he loves to work for his handler. So it's like a very cool balance that you don't often see. And so For sure in the bite work, I mean, he definitely likes to bite. I would agree with him that he for sure likes the face attack for that. But I mean, he gets jacked to jump, super, super jacked, loves to do retrieves. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not a classic dog like my dog I have now. He jumps. It's not his favorite thing to do. He jumps fine. He jumps well, but he's not like thrilled to do it. He does the obedience. He does it because it makes me happy. He does it very well. But Maestro's the opposite. Maestro's just jump. Oh my God, this is the greatest thing in the world. Retrieve. Oh my God, I'm going to see how fast I can do it. So he's a very big pleaser. And he loves really anything you tell him to do, anything you teach him, the dog absolutely loves to do, which is a very, very cool quality about the dog that obviously, typical Malinois, they like to do things, but he's a dog that literally you show him anything and he is gonna do it and do it with a tail wagging.
Wow. I love those tail wagging dogs. Just, they're out there and I mean, that's part of the training too, as well as part of the dog.
Yep.
So I'd asked what's Maestro's favorite exercise within French ring. What's his favorite like game or thing to do outside of French ring?
Oh, he loves to go for hikes. We've got another house up in Williams, Arizona, so very close to Flagstaff where we were talking about before. And he loves to be up there. The weather's so much cooler. Run around the property. He just loves to run. Like there's not much that he does walking. So anything that involves going out and you give him a tug or some sort of a ball and he loses all brain cells and that's that.
All the dogs walk with us, and he's already done 3 back and forth in the time that we've walked. Just one. That's him.
Gets his steps in.
Yes.
And to elaborate on what she says, obviously the dog, I mean, all of our dogs are pets outside of working. So right now I've got 3 dogs, 3 dogs literally laying at our feet right now. I mean, that's just how our dogs are. All of our dogs live in our house with us. They're with our, with our families, with our clients. But at the same time, as we were mentioning earlier, because of how intense this dog is, because of how fast he does things, it's also, we got to be very careful with things we do outside of even sport work because the dog is a liability to himself. He's not a dog you can just go throw the ball for on the field. He will break a tooth. He will roll his ankle. He'll bust a nail. He'll do something. So we've been very selective with like what we do with him and how we do things with him because he's literally a liability to himself in that sense. Again, the downside, everyone wants a dog that hits hard and bites fast and jumps like that. But at the same time, the trade-off is he's a dog that you have to be, he's not a dog you just go throw the ball for unless you know what you're doing. So you got to be very careful because he's a liability to himself.
I hear that. How about swimming? Is he okay with swimming or is he going to break a nail?
Oh, we had a pool here and I'm not exaggerating when I say this. The first time that I ever took him in the pool, I think it was like he was like 10 months old. Chad probably had done like when he was a puppy swimming and stuff, but I don't think he hadn't been in the pool for a long time. And I'm like, all right. So I brought him and my German Shepherd. I opened the gate. He ran full speed up the stairs and then was just in the pool. I don't even think he knew what he did or that he didn't know what happened until he was in the pool. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess you figured out how to get in. So then it was game over for that. Same thing. He's just a crackhead for anything. And he loves the water. But our pool no longer exists here, which is
I'd love to be able to swim more, but as you know, in Arizona, it's dry here. We don't really have rivers, and we do have a couple lakes, but they're not really the best lakes, so we don't get the opportunity to swim as much as we can. But no, the dog, he loves water.
Loves water, and he's a great swimmer. I tried. I was messing around because Chad's niece Violet used to do a bunch of dock diving and stuff, and there was a competition happening like 30 minutes from here, and she was like, let me enter Maestro because he'll fly off a dock. He doesn't have much experience doing it, but he'll fly. I'm like, all right, yeah. And I know that it takes someone that kind of knows what they're doing to throw that bumper. And so I'm like, all right, let's go. I'm like, my very athletic ring 3 dog going to a dock diving tournament in a parking lot at a Shields. And Violet gets up there with him and he's jacked to do it. He's so excited. He jumps like 10 feet. I'm like, what the hell? But yes, he loves to do anything that is
Anything that what you're doing, if it's sitting here on the computer, as long as he's with you, if it's running, hiking, on the bike, outside, doing something, building something, as long as the dog's with you, he's the
yeah.
happiest dog in the world.
Yep.
That's how all of our dogs are. They like to be, like to say, they like to be inside your soul, no matter where you go, what you do. Like to be
Yeah.
close to you as possible.
That sounds great, and it sounds great for the obedience side of things too,
Mhm.
so it's not boring for anybody, and he sounds like when it comes to the fun stuff, it's more instead of, like, ready, fire, aim, he's, like, ready or it's yeah,
Yes.
he's ready, fire, aim, like, he is just doing it, ask questions later.
Yep.
Just go
100%.
all in.
Yep.
So that's awesome that you shared, a little bit about, like, I guess his personality and thinking about like Hunter Canine, and I'll have you say your kennel name so I don't mispronounce it with my sorry little
Du
French Canadian.
chenil, du chenil
Du,
de chasseur.
du Chenil de Chasseur.
Chasseur.
Chasseur. Chasseur. I like that. And that
Chasseur.
means chasseur. And that
Kennel
means
of hunter.
kennel of hunter, like Hunter Canine, Chad Hunter. Got it. Okay, excellent. Very cool. And so you've described Maestro's behaviors a little bit and his personality. And do you find that that's like a lot of the personality of your other very successful dogs? I know you've won 3 nationals with 3 different dogs.
Yeah, it's it's a conversation that we have all the time because we'll say with Horace, who's his father, who is also the father of many other. There's in the last 4 or 5 years, there's come to be 10 ring 3 dogs that have come from our kennels here, and French ring 3 dogs, and I believe that 7 of those dogs are from Horace. So Horace has been the dog. He was obviously my dog I won the championships with back in 2016. And he's been probably one of just the most, as we've all had many dogs, throughout our time, but he's the one dog that just that stands out the most in regards to he's become the basis for my breeding program. We've now bred him enough times to know now what he's going to produce. He throws himself very heavily when it comes to sociability and the trainability, bitability, all of that. And absolutely exceptional temperament. Um, and I've really, the style of dogs that I had even 15 years ago when I started in ring is much different than the style of dog that I've had now. Now that I've kind of evolved and figure out, like, you know what, when I was 20 years old and started getting very heavy into these dog sports, we want the hardest biting and the fastest and just the most intense, just most fired up dog. But at the end of the day, that's great. But it's hard to make points with dogs like that sometimes. Sometimes you get dogs with outing issues. It's hard to find a balanced dog. And it's been really a pleasure to see now adding into the mix. You take a dog like Horace, we add him into the mix. And personally, for me, is a dog that has produced what I look for in a dog. And that's what I see in my dog Kratos. That's what I see in Violet's dog, MJ, Maestro, with Machiavelli, the other dog that did well in France with us.
Yeah,
Um,
Eric's dog.
all these outstanding qualities, and it stems from Horace. People say, "Oh, how do you know where that comes from?" Well, I bred the dog enough. My dog that I just retired a few years ago is a 3/4 brother to Maestro. All very similar qualities. Now seeing some of the puppies that Maestro has produced, how they are very similar to his half siblings. It's just very cool to see how these genetics have evolved. And Maestro represents 4 generations of my breeding, which is something I'm super proud of as well. So be able to have not just one, not two, not three, but 4 generations, and we're already going into this last few litters we had. It represents 5 generations of dogs that I've bred that are all doing very well, and it's just that's a huge accomplishment for a breeder, and I'm very proud of that.
It is, yes. And yeah, I saw that with Stephanie O'Brien's post. And then when Ivan was speaking with you and just pausing with such a great accomplishment. I mean, it's magic how much work you've put in and figuring out, the best over time has evolved. It's just magic. So I don't know French ring like I know Mondio ring. Do you guys have a dog in white? Chien de Blanc? Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
In at the world level in Mondio ring, we weren't allowed on the field in the dog in white. Our team captain would go on, our team leader would go on and come back and tell us what was supposed to happen, and it was
What is this
terrifying.
thing? This is where
Yeah.
the little wood is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, "Okay, I'll just figure it out when I get out there." Um, so Carly, how did that work? Did your team captain have to go out there and then tell you, or did you get to walk on the field for dog in white?
No, so for the selectifs and for the final, you're not allowed on the field for dog and white. You just kind of stand on the sidelines and you watch. We don't have team captains, so there's really just the judge, the decoys, the dog, the handler, the deputy. The direct people for the trial that are on the field. And between my team, I mean, we had plenty of eyes watching. We'd, okay, take a look at where the landing zones are for the jumps, where's the food on the field, like stuff like that. But for the most part, no. I mean, in America, USA here, we obviously are allowed on the field a lot of the times for dog and white, but I feel like they didn't. Did they let us on the field for the championships? I don't think they did
Mm,
here.
Here?
Yeah, I don't think they.
No, you're not allowed on the field.
Yeah,
Period. No,
yeah.
it's like like the French protocol is like no one's, especially for the selectifs and for the championship of France, you're not allowed on the field. Period.
Yeah.
Like for any of that, the only time you step on the field is when you compete.
Mhm.
So that's also what raises the bar of being an experienced handler and being aware of what's going on and paying attention and trying to bear with the nerves and all of that that comes with it. It's a lot for sure. It's a lot.
Yes, yes. I've been there, and that's what I'd love to dig into, Carly. Can you walk us through that? Can you walk us through your performance?
Yeah. Like my warm-up routine too, like that kind of, or just like my thought process while I'm on the field.
If you've got a warm-up routine, then that sounds like something we would love to hear because, yeah, not many people make it to that level, and it's so stressful. It's, almost debilitating to step out on that field, so, yeah, I would love to hear any tips for younger handlers too.
So I'll start it for her. And the way it works is she was dog number 7 this year, right? So dog number 5, you start, okay, we're getting close.
Mhm.
And she has in her head, okay, dog number 6, when that dog starts his protection routine is when I'm going to go get my dog and start my routine. So for her, dog number 6 comes up. I look at her. That's when her and I, because I turn into a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
Um, Only time I get nervous is watching her compete. When I compete myself, it's just another day of training for me. I thoroughly enjoy competing, and I don't really have the nerves that I used to in the beginning. But when she competes, I can't even
He can't
I can't
function.
function. So I give my kisses and my good lucks and my you know right before, well before she goes onto the field, because I actually don't even see her right when she enters the field because we kind of have our own little routine that we do. So dog number 6 comes along. As soon as that I know what that means for me, I go and find her. I give her a hug and a kiss, and the rest is on her. She heads to the car. She goes and gets her dog, and
Yeah, I tell Chad, like I can tell like when I'm getting close, I'm like, okay, see you later. Because he just stresses me out more when
Yep.
I see him get all worked up. I'm like, I don't need that. So I feel like I get really nervous before I go on the field, and it's like I turn it off when I walk on the field, because for me, I know that my dog deserves to have the best version of me, and if I'm not there mentally, then I can't be the handler that he deserves. And so it's taken it's taken time and it's taken experience for me to, I think like that, because I definitely didn't throughout his entire career. But I mean, in I think it we kind of did the math. It was like it's been like just about 2 years, a little over 2 years of him being in ring three, 2.5 years maybe.
mhm.
And he's done 19 ring threes, which is a lot. So it's kind of forced me to, breathe and figure my life
Mm.
out. But I don't really have like a strict warm up. I like to take him out. I like to take him out usually like 2 dogs before, just to go to the bathroom and like hope that he like poops. And then I'm like, okay, well, he pooped.
Yeah.
You learn that taking him out to warm him up is actually not what the dog needs. To go
Yeah.
out and get him jacked up with a ball and a
Yeah.
tug and doing those things is not what the
For
dog
sure.
needs. He's a dog that's, you go and grab him. Hey, bud, this is what we're doing. Let's hit the field.
Yeah. And it's hard because, like we were explaining, he's a dog that, all it takes is me to walk him and he's jacked. He's super excitable. So I try not to bring him out too soon before I go on the field too, because I don't want him to get himself like already halfway tired. So normally when I take him out, like those 2 dogs before, I'll, just do a little bit of obedience with him to kind of refresh his brain, let him go to the bathroom, make sure he gets a good drink, make sure he's got some electrolytes on board, and then put him back in the car. I put a back on track jacket on him, and I really love those things. It's a big horse product, but they do make dog products, and it's supposed to warm up his muscles before he even really like comes out of the car. So I love that thing. I think it helps with injury and recovery and all that stuff. So I swear by my jacket. I bring it everywhere. Chad makes fun of me, but he's got his jacket on. Oh, there's our kid. So Chad's gonna go take care of that for a second. Um, and depending on, one of the big things I definitely try to do is not have my car parked like super, super close to where the field is. Sometimes that's not really an option in France because the parking is like basically on top of the field. But for the final, at least, we tried to, well, it was really, really hot too. It was like 83 to 85 degrees. So I bought a massive illuminate from one of the shops there to cover my entire van. Obviously, that's the one downside to coming from the US. We already pack so much that I try to prepare to not have as many things. So I ended up buying that illuminate, and it was funny because my dog doesn't even really need a crate. Like, but it was so hot I had to have the doors open, and honestly, he would stay in the car the entire time with the door open. Like, he would never leave, but I just didn't feel warm and fuzzy either with like people walking by. So I used that illuminate as kind of like a drape over, so like nobody could see the back half of the
Mm.
car. And I had what was essentially like a soccer net that I bought off Amazon, and I just clipped it. He could have jumped over it in 2 seconds if he really wanted to, but that was his crate for the final. He was just
Wow.
loose in the back of the van. Yeah. Yeah. He's really good like that. But um yeah, I walk him out, and I do like I do a lot of like backing up, trying to like get his hind quarter like ready for jumping and stuff like that. But I don't do a huge warm up because, like I said, I'm like very careful about just how long I have him out before he goes on the field. But with that being said, you get docked a huge amount of points too if you're like not right there at the gate. They'll take your general allure. It's just points that you really don't want to lose before you even step on the field. So I think I put him in the shade, and I was in the shade with him for like probably 8 minutes before I walked onto the field. I always try to prevent him being able to like listen and hear the stick and the gun and all the things happening, because it obviously gets him really geeked. But I feel like he's definitely a dog that is he knows the game now. Like, he knows he's going to get to bite. But he's got to do his obedience first, and he's got to do his jumps. So he's not a dog that like tries to rush me through a program or like do things to kind of
Mm.
make it happen faster. He knows it's going to happen. And then when it does happen, he's like, all right. And, one of the things that I feel like, having competed, I'm kind of going all over the place now because I'm like, okay, this and then this. So I know we were talking about warm up, but one of the things that Chad and I have sat here and like we're waiting for the day, and I'm hoping, gonna knock on wood, that it never comes, but competing that much in a short period of time, like I feel like the dog gets trial wise, right? And he knows he's not dumb. He knows he's on a trial field, and I've had my fair share of trials where I've been like, okay, I got to go work this after. Like he for sure he's getting a little bit too fired up on the basket, or, he's just decoy hunting a little bit, things that we've had to kind of work through. Like I'm sure many people do. But one thing I will say that has stood very strong within him is his patience at the line. He has
Mm.
never once threatened to ever leave me at the line. And that's crazy because I feel like most dogs get really buzzed on the line eventually and they think about potentially leaving, but he just stares at me the entire time.
Wow.
And I can tell, like, as the decoy gets further and the stick gets harder to hear, like, I'll just see his like mouth start to like slowly close and he like holds his breath a little bit. But he's been like
Wow.
super, super compliant on the lines, which I'm very, very grateful for. I'm like hoping that I never have an issue with him breaking a line. But yeah, that's my rant from
So I love that you gave us so much great information. I know there's going to be people listening that are newer, and
yeah.
all of these little tips and tricks. Yeah, definitely flying to Europe and not having access to your car and your crate and all that. You got to figure it out and have a plan. And I would love to hear, like, just walk us through a little bit of your actual performance when you were on that field. Tell us about some of those moments that you probably blacked out for some of it, and you probably remembered other moments of it. So please
Yeah.
feel free to share.
Yeah. So it was an incredible moment, and it's different from any other trial that I've obviously done because you actually get to walk onto the field to go to the podium for like your like walk out with your team. And so I remember standing there and kind of like looking around me and just seeing my family, my best friends, my training group, and like just feeling like you're on top of the world. I mean, it's you're no one without your team, right? And so I will stand by the fact that I've had the most amazing group of people and help for getting us to this point. But walking out, it was like it was go time. My one friend in France who's been a huge help, Florian, who has been one of Maestro's decoys, he sent me a bunch of pictures after and he was like, we look like we're going to war. And I'm like, because we were, kind of. And so that was the beginning. Walking out and not like going to compete right then and there was a little bit different too. Just okay, now I have to go walk up and stand in front of people, which was a little nerve-wracking too, because everyone's just like listening to the speech that you give and staring at you and your dog. But after that, I walked onto the field, and I think the first thing that goes into my head even before I walked out was just making it through the routine because it was so hot and they decided not to
Mm.
split the routine. Normally with the temperatures that it was, they were surprised that the routine wasn't split. So I was just really praying that we were gonna hold out because it was really hot. I gave him a ton of water and just made sure that I kept his stomach really wet with cold water. I gave him probably water every other exercise throughout the routine, and it seemed to help. But always when I get on any field, whether it's the final or it's the selectifs or it's even a club trial, I'm like, all right, I just gotta make it through the jumps because he gets very, very excited to jump. And sometimes he doesn't use all of his brain. So, as effortless as those jumps are for him, I feel like I can take a deep breath after I get through the jumps, especially the long jump. I feel like the long jump is the hardest jump in French ring. Um, that distance jump. I know you guys have it in Mondio. So I had jumped him at 4 meters to start, and my plan was to go max, which would be 4.5 after. And he cleared 4, and then we went 4.5, and he cleared 4.5, and I could hear because all of my team was like right there on the fence. I could hear everyone's like, "Let's go!" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." I have to kind of like stay in my head too. Um, I
Hmm.
feel like throughout the obedience, I don't really worry. This is the most consistent he's been this year with obedience and stuff, he didn't lose a single point in obedience for the entire selectives or for the final this year. So I wasn't super worried. I think the one thing that crossed my mind was, all right, well, this is the first field that he's gotten on that he's never been on, because even the selectives, there's no open field, but you can go, the week of and get on the field and do some training. And obviously you can't do that for the final. So just, okay, do an ascend away on a field that, the dog's never been on, a blind search. The field's really, really big for the final. But Chad reassured me at that point. He was like, I'm not worried about your send away. I'm not worried about your blind search. Like, your dog has ran on the most wonky fields in France with trees and clubhouses, and this is the most straightforward field he's probably ever been on, other than, our fields, which are probably the closest things to perfection here for French ring in the US. But once I make it through the obedience, and then I just like take another deep breath, and I'm like, hey, this is when the fun stuff happens. And this is where a lot of it is still in my control, but also a little bit out of my control. So pretty much I know my dog is going to do what he's going to do throughout the bite work. And I just need to make sure that I blow the whistle at an appropriate time for the stop. And that's, once the stop attack is done, I also feel like all of my stress kind of just goes away. I don't know anything else that you can think of that we worry about for him, but really it was I tried to really enjoy the moment, because I have never competed and I don't know if we ever will again. So it was like, I'm going to do what I can to keep calm and just enjoy the moment, but also to do the best that we possibly can, because going into the final, my dog sat the third highest average going into it. So I knew that we could do well. I knew that we couldn't win the championship based off of the French rules. But I mean, Chad had even said, he's like, you play your cards right, you can win everything. Not by their rules, but technically he was the dog that obviously had the highest average at the end of the final as well. So
It sounds like everything went according to plan. It sounds amazing. It sounds so inspiring.
I don't think there ever really is a plan. So it's
Yeah.
like, when it goes well, I'm like, okay, perfect. It went how I knew it could go, but there's so many variables, especially as much as he's a compliant dog, he's a dog that's very easily overstimulated and really, really jacked to do everything. So sometimes it's, his own intensity and stuff that kind of bites me in the butt. But with maturity and kind of figuring out what works for him going onto the field, I feel like I don't really worry about the same things that I worried about when he was 2 years old, you know, first and new in ring three. It's been a growth thing with him for sure. And I feel like his head and his, I guess, just everything is the best it's ever been. I feel like there's a magic number in the age of five 5 years old for a dog. I feel like they're just, everything just clicks and it makes sense for them.
I hear that. Now, Chad, I have a different question for you, because with Carly, we're more digging into the actual performance in France. But for you, since you've competed so much, I would love for you to share, like, what is something that advanced handlers like yourself do that maybe a beginner might not even notice or realize or think about?
I think part of, and again, everyone's different, but this is what I tell people as well, is that obviously for a beginner or more of a rookie first time type of a handler, is that they are so worried about what the next exercise is, and people will write it on their hands and they'll write it on paper, and some people will put it in their pockets and stuff, and that's great. And I know there's some people that they want to know, especially in Mondio, when you're allowed to cue certain exercises, you want to know when those exercises are. But as we know in French ring, we're not allowed to do that. So I see that's in French ring specifically, I see that's where it actually gets some people into troubles, because they get almost neurotic of just worrying about what the next exercise is. And I tell everybody, listen, take a step back, there's a reason why you have a deputy judge on the field. You have somebody that is going to lead you and tell you what the exercises are, because it's okay. You don't have to remember all of this. And people just get so fixed and so worked up over that they honestly send themselves into a downward spiral. And so I tell people, go out there, plan it out in your head what you want to do. And if you forget something, it's okay. Ask the deputy judge. That's the reason why he's out there. They're out there to help you. They're not there to try to get you to fail or to ruin your day. They're out there to communicate what it is that you need to be doing. Let's just hope when the exercise comes about that your dog does it the way he's supposed to. But that I see that really gets a lot of, rookie handlers. They overdo it in that sense, where they just get so worried about what the routine is and they memorize it. And man, was a stop attack before this, and what do I do in this? And it's like, it doesn't matter. You're going to go up to the prep line. You're going to take a deep breath. You're then going to have your deputy judge tell you what the exercise is. You're then going to leave your prep line and go to there. You're going to have time to take a deep breath, strategize everything that you're going to do in your head when you walk up to that start line, and you're going to make it happen, And I feel like just that little piece of advice has helped a lot of people that I work with, and people that always ask for advice. Obviously much easier said than done, because nerves are nerves and everyone handles nerves differently. There are the people that, like you had mentioned, they're the people that literally black out and they're like, I don't even know what I just did, but
Also
I think
me.
it was good. I think it was good. Like, I think it went well. But for me, that's probably one of the major ones that stands out is again, easier said than done. Take a deep breath. But really, I'm the kind of guy to where right before I go on the field, it's kind of like her too, like she was just mentioning, as much as my team and my family and everyone that's there is important to me, I start reaching a point, like for me, because of how technical I get in my own head, I start kind of fading out about an hour before I'm about to get on the field. I start kind of fading away from everybody. And no disrespect, but that's just my routine. I go away, I get in my own mental space. Like, I might even listen to my own type of music, whatever I'm doing. I'll spend a little time with my dog, have a little conversation in the back of the car. All right, buddy, let's go out, let's do this. And that's it. I turn everything off because I don't need the distractions. I don't need, I don't need people sitting here, oh, don't think about this and don't forget about that. And like, nope, I know what I'm doing. I need this time for myself right now. And then when I get off the field, then we can resume our party as normally scheduled. But until then, I just really take my own time to find out what works best for me, paying attention to when the next dog comes off the field, when I'm getting ready to walk onto the field. I really just slow things down to where I'm not caught off guard, because that's also a big mistake I see people make as well, is that they don't prep appropriately, to where they're short on time, and now all of a sudden the judge is honking the horn. Where's the next competitor? And then if you do that, where do you think your brain's at for the first 15, the entire routine that you're on the field? Your brain's gone, because you're stressed out because you ticked off the judge, or you were a little late to come onto the field. And I don't know how it is in Mondio, but in French ring, they rewrote the rules 2023 that now if you're even remotely not ready to come on the field, you're losing 2 points general allure right off the bat, just for that. And that also stresses people out to where now they don't want to lose those points. And now they're sitting at the gate waiting, but then they have a certain type of dog that's now getting jacked up when the protection work's going on. And now they came out too soon. So again, you really got to know your dog and find the balance of what that routine is before you walk onto the field. And when you walk onto the field, you have to say, listen, I'm walking down there. Like, I have the optimistic mindset of knowing I walk on that field, I have 400 points. Like, really, I walk on the field, I have 400 points. I'm not, okay, let's see what I can screw up. Like, I got to stay optimistic. I have 400 points, and what we do from here on out is going to determine my final score. I'm going to slow down if I need to take a deep breath, if I need to give my dog water. Again, people need to take in consideration that you're allowed to do those things all within reason, right? Obviously, there's deductions for like training on the field and things like that they'll have in French ring if it's something's excessive, or you're trying to do engagement drills with your dog in between exercises. But I think everyone kind of understands my point of take your time. It is not a rushed event. I tell every single person that works with me for the first time, and I'll usually, okay, let me watch some of your obedience. And then after, we're going to have a conversation. Do it what you normally do. And when you're done, we're going to have a conversation. And the first thing that I say to everybody after is what?
Slow down.
Slow down. It's the first thing I told Carly when she started training with me. The first thing I said, her healing routine with her German Shepherd looked like an IPO. She was off to the races. She was flying. And it very pretty. But guess what? French training doesn't score based on that. They score based on where the dog's head is and relevance to your need, the position of the dog, and that's it. It's not a race. Slow down, and being able to slow down will help your nerve. If you're a nervous person, it will 100% help your nerves if you can take that extra time, and you don't need to rush things. Things do not need to be done fast. Things do not need to be done the way people think they need to be done, and that's what gets them into a tiffy. So yes, people want to make a bumper sticker for me that says Chad Hunter says slow down, but that is my biggest piece of advice is slow down. I walk up to my line. We have a prep line and a start line, just like you guys do in Mondio Ring. I walk up to my prep line. I tell my dog to sit. I do 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. I tell my dog to stay. I then look up at my deputy judge and say, all right, what are we doing? They tell me what we're doing. As soon as they tell me what the exercise is, okay, next exercise is your send away. I then take a deep breath. I look down at my dog. I tell him to heel. I walk up to my start box. I let my dog take his position, which is always going to be a sit if I stop. Once he sits, I then tell my dog to lay down, which is my position for my send away. Once my dog lays down, I take another second and a half. I do my separation. We have to show separation with our dogs. And that's it. I did all of that in a 15-second time frame when most people tried to do that in less than 5 seconds. And you're jacking your dog up. You're moving too fast. You're doing these things.
Yeah.
And when I just do that and slow down, it just helps me immensely. And I see how much it has helped with the dozens and dozens of teams I've worked with and helped now. Like, oh yeah, no, this is not a race. Like, we don't have to do things as fast as we think we do. And slowing down actually does help immensely. So yes, slowing down, knowing your routine when you come onto the field, what's going to work best for you and your dog, and just really knowing where you need your head to be at. If you're the person that you can walk out with your team right there and have the best moments and laughs and memories up until the moment you walk on the field, then great, more power to you. But that's a little different than the way my mindset is, because I need to be able to focus on what I'm about to do. And especially playing at the high level, it's a lot, you know. A brevet for a dog is a lot of work. And as we know, as we go into the higher levels, especially going into level 3, it is a whole different ballpark when you get to there, and it's like, whoa. So
What I found really interesting was slow down is a great, suggestion for folks. But when you actually started explaining it, I think like Carly and I went into like a methodical like state of like it almost felt like, you really were helping us all slow down. So I could see where you would be just such a great leader to help, like as a team leader or as a coach, because I mean, I was like, we got to slow down, Flirty. We better slow down. Can you guys share? I'd like to hear from each of you on what you think it takes to make a great teammate, because I know that what you guys
yes.
went through was very, very stressful, and you've got to know how to be patient and forgiving, because we're all like freaking out. So what does it take to make a great teammate?
Well, it's one thing to be a teammate, but to have your significant other as your teammate is also a whole nother level of it.
I'll just tell you, mine has never even seen me compete. He's never been to a single competition. I didn't allow it. So yeah, you guys deserve an award.
Sometimes I wish it could be that way.
Yep.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
So one thing I'll say, and this actually will mean a lot to her when I say this, but one thing that we learned in the very beginning of our career together is, again, this was part of what made us really the picture perfect team, is that I'm the type of guy, like, we always kind of make jokes, but it's kind of the truth in a sense, where she does the obedience, I train the bite work, right? I'm the guy in the bite suit. I'll train your basket. I'll get you 30 points. I'll do all this. We'll do this. You do your obedience. Because let's face it, like, I love the obedience. I love that stuff, but that's what she is phenomenal at, right? I've done very well, had great success with my dogs, obviously, in the past, but she is incredible when it comes to that stuff. Just taking her time and nitpicking things and just doing all this, the precision, the same stuff that I do in the bite work when I'm in the suit for a dog. And that's where I feel that I'm incredibly valuable to the teams I work with, is that my knack for being able to be so precise of how things need to be done in the suit is the difference in everything, especially the level that we've competed at. But what she told me in the very, very beginning of our relationship, 5 years now, is she would go on the field and she would I would say, okay, go do your obedience and I'll come out and I'll throw on the suit and we'll work some bite work. And that lasted literally for a week. And she came in and she sat down, she had a conversation with me. She says, listen, here's the deal. She goes, you have a lot more experience than I do. You've been doing this a lot more than me. And if we're going to be this team, I need you to be there for all of my training sessions to be able to just tell me if I'm doing it right, tell me if I'm doing it wrong, like just break things down and like just be there for that. You know, as much as the obedience stuff is not stuff that I get like overly to the moon about, as opposed to the bite work stuff, like I keep saying, but like from that point on, like she'll tell you, like I've been to every single one of her training sessions that she's had. I watch, she'll wait for me. I run the horn for her. We break it down. I tell her what I wanted to do different. And that honestly is like finding that balance between the two. Like we have not even had a single hiccup other than the typical, I told you this, I told you that, screw you, screw this.
Yeah.
Kind of like an episode of Yellowstone where it's like, you know what, screw you. I love you, but screw you.
Yeah.
Right. I love you, but screw you. Right. That's, so there's, you could only imagine, especially with the selectifs and the success that he had in France and things like that. There's just so much pressure on me, you know, because at the end of the day, obviously it's her and her dog, but it's like, it's my training. It's me in a suit. It's me doing everything to get this dog to where he's at. And certain things that she does, I'm like, don't do that. Come on. We had this conversation. We're not doing that. No, I'm doing this. We'll talk about it later. It's just like, it's a lot for sure. But to have that mutual respect and really like, okay, you know what, maybe right now we go and have a sit down conversation in the car, like we've had a few times, and say like, listen, this is, she'll tell you how many times I've had to talk her off the ledge when it comes to her dog and him getting hurt. Your dog has a broken toe. He's got 3 other toes on that foot. He's going to be just fine. Right. We're going to wrap it. He's going to get by in life. He's not going to die. We're going to do all these things. We're going to compete him. He's going to be just fine as long as we wrap that foot. Like just little things like that we have to be there for. And it's hard. It is not easy in the slightest, especially being a significant other, you know, but it's kind of the same thing with my club now. And I tell everybody, there's a reason I have a very small club now. I used to have 25 dogs in my club 10 years ago. And now we're down to, I think we've got 8, 9 dogs in our club right now. There's a reason why I have a small club, because my mindset and the way that I do things is like, I'm very precise. I do this because yes, I want to win. Obviously I want to have fun. This is a hobby of mine, a passion of mine, but I've been very successful with it. And when I know what the finish line looks like, obviously that's what you want. That's what you shoot for. So my training philosophy is a lot different, right? For the people that just say, oh, I just want to try to get a brevet with my dog. Okay, that's fine. I'm all for that. And I will help you for that. But when you come and work with me, I'm going to break things down in a sense to where like, regardless if you do a brevet or you end up going to ring 3 or you just try to attempt for a brevet, my mindset and the way I do things is very particular, because I promise you, whether you jump on board right off the bat or you learn to adapt to it, I promise you, you will make out in the end. But I'm a little bit more, I guess you could say, I don't know, intense, direct with people. But at the end of the day, people come to me like, man, I've got Chad's voice in my head and I have not made those mistakes since he's been telling me those things, you know? And it's like, it's hard. It's hard because I got to find the right balance with some people too, because I really want to help them, of course. But there's also conversations that I've had with people. It's like, hey guys, like what I have to ask you a question, really, what are you doing here right now? Because there's some people, it's like they don't even want to compete. I feel like it's like, what are you even doing this for? Like you're over here screaming and I don't even think you really want to do this, you know? And sometimes I have to have those conversations with people too. It's like, oh yeah, like, I don't know, my breeder just wanted me to do this. I don't really like this. Okay, well then have that conversation with yourself and let's figure that out, you know? But it's been a process for me too. My ways have evolved, especially the last 6-7 years that I've been real heavy in the sport, with just kind of how I go about things. But people come to me because they know what they're going to get when they work with me now, because I've kind of built that reputation for myself for a little while now. It's like, hey, we want to fix things. We're going to clean stuff up and we're going to go from here to here. Let's go. You know, I might hear some things I don't want to hear right off the bat, but in the end, we're gonna get it worked out, and it's gonna be we're gonna have success.
And you mentioned that you've come down to a very small member count in your club. So in working with you, for people that work with you, maybe lessons or in your club, what kind of qualities do you look for in people that you're going to work with, that you're going to surround yourself with and help them to grow?
I think that's a wonderful question. I think that's one of the best questions. And I'm glad you asked that question because that is what separated me from how I did things 15 years ago. 15 years ago, when I first started getting involved, it's, oh, cool, you want to do French ring? Perfect. Join the club. Let's go. And then I realized is that there's several different types of personalities of people with different goals within your club. And that's fine. That's what makes the world go round. But really, really being able to see people that have the dedication and the commitment. You just know, especially if you're involved in the smallest bit of dog training, or you're a super advanced handler and trainer, like you can just see, like, for instance, when you work with a client, the first session you do with that client, man, this lady's going to pick up on this. She's going to do well with this. Or, oh boy, I gotta really work with this gal, and let's hope she can figure things out. Let's hope when she comes back here in 3 or 4 weeks to work with me again, let's hope that she can even get her dog to walk on the leash the way I want it to, let alone be able to just communicate anything to the dog, right? So for me, people that come in, and that's kind of what narrowed down my club, is that people had the same mindset as me of saying, like, you know what, I want to do this. Maybe I'm not going to be a champion, maybe I will, but I want to go into this and I want to do the best I possibly can. And the people that come into it with that mindset, it's like, listen, I want to put all this, because let's be honest, we don't do this because, and again, getting kind of into some of the theories of things, but a lot of people say, oh, I just want to pass. But at the end of the day, come on, let's be honest. We've all said that. But we all know we do not commit 3 days a week of training, absolutely sacrifices for your family, babysitting, the money, the gas money, the time you spend traveling and driving in a car, the time you spend sitting around a field just for your dog to get work for 10 minutes that day. We don't do that just because we want to pass. We don't.
Yeah. Or just for fun. I'm just doing this for fun. No.
Saying you do that for fun, you're off your rocker. Like
there's other fun activities you can go do that's not as stressful.
Yeah, for sure. So, but when people come to me and like, here's what I've seen in people that I've worked with, especially the last few years, I get teams. I got a team last year that came to me and says, hey man, my basket is a mess. My dog just does not have a good understanding of the object guard. He just does not. And I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. I did some sessions with his dog, cleaned it up. He spent about 10 days out here. We did this, and this, and this. And I said, you're going to go home. You're going to work exactly what I just showed you now, all this progression that we've made, and you're going to send me videos. I cannot tell you how many albums I have on my phone of people that do shared video albums with me now, because they send me every time they do a training session just to validate, to make sure that the things I've given them, the tools, those are the people that I will go out of my way for until the end of this earth. The people that just they want to progress, they take the constructive criticism, they work on things, they change things, they ask the questions, they want to make it better, they want to fix it. Like, those are the people I'm a sucker for. Like, she'll tell you, like, she'll look at me sometimes, she's like, why are you doing this with this team? Like, we don't even know these people. Like, why are you helping them so much? I said, because I have a soft spot for the people that want, but also for me, that's what makes me a competitor in a lot of ways, is because I want these people to be on the field with me. I want to compete against these people, because at the end of the day, we can all be a team and work together. But at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, we're in competition. Like, I want to see the best dogs. That's why we went to France. I want to compete with the best dogs in the world. And that's why we went there. And if I can help people here, I want to see the best people. I want to see the best dogs in competition. I want to see that dog do well. I want to see that dog succeed. I want to see that dog. And as much as people think I'm crazy when I see this, I want to see that dog beat me. Because guess what? Now I got to go back to my drawing board and realize that I'm only human, and that what can I do to even get better to make those things, even with as much experience as I have, right? That's what motivates me all the time. And people, make jokes. Oh, all you do is win. And you just, every time you walk on the field, you win. No, people don't understand the amount of failure I had in the beginning of the sport. I could, that's a whole nother podcast. The amount of failures I had in the sport and that's where, once I tell people that story and how I evolved from that and how I changed things, people are like, oh my, wow, this guy has literally done it all. He didn't just start training dogs and go right to the top of the podium. Like, no, he actually worked to get to that point, and once I find and surround myself with people with that mindset and they come in, that's it. I'm all yours. I'll do anything in the world for you. I'll help you to the end of time. But the people that, hey, let's work this defense with this dog today, defensive handler with your dog today. Okay. We do the defense. Okay. Why is the dog still doing these things? Oh, well, this happened and my dog ate my homework, or whatever excuses are. And the people that have excuses of why they can't listen, I get it. We've all got lives. We've all got families, kids, businesses. We all have lives outside of this. But the people that have excuses, continual excuses, are the people that, unfortunately, it's hard for me to make the time for those types of people, because at the end of the day, with all due respect, it's a waste of my time. You don't want what we want. You don't want what you think or you don't think you want, if that makes sense. It's like you need to figure out what you're doing, go back to the drawing board, and let's figure this out. But I'm working on the same thing with your dog 6 months ago. What we're working on today, we have not progressed at all, because you have not applied any of the things that I've been able to help and give you, and stuff that you could just do in your basement at home when there's 4 feet of snow on the ground, and you're still not working or addressing these issues. And it's hard for me to help you when we're not progressing. So
I really like what you said about how, you've had failures, and that's, I think, how we evolve in business with our dog sports. You know, you got to get kicked in the face, especially right before the championship. Bring it on. Make me have to work for this, because if I pass a bunch of trials and then I go into the championship thinking I'm all that, probably going to be in big trouble. So yeah, I think it's good to get kicked in the face, even with business and life too. You when you fail and you lose things, and then you have to work and you really appreciate how hard you have to get there. I totally get that. So that was great. I did want to ask you, Carly, that question that I'd asked Chad. What makes a great teammate?
Oh, patience. I feel like patience is a huge one. And I feel like, he did a lot of explaining for, the beginning of our relationship and training, and I definitely needed a lot more guidance than I probably wanted to admit. As much as I'm capable of teaching obedience, I didn't know and understand the specifics of the rules. And that's what makes you a very good handler in Frenching, is understanding the rules, because you can cost your dog so many points. And I didn't want to do that for my dog. And to the extent of what I obviously can control, and there's things that happen, but I needed him and his expertise on the fact that he's a judge and he knows the rules, but also his experience and being able to kind of be like, hey, be careful, you're doing this. Like, even as something as silly as dropping the sock for the scene retrieve, um, how I prep my dog for getting into the boxes. Chad will he'll joke, like, people that have never actually like trained their dog to get into a spray painted box will have a hell of a time trying to do it the first time they try to do it in a trial. And it's so accurate, because there's just so many little things about, obviously, French ring, and I'm sure Mondio ring as well, that really make or break you and your dog when you're competing. And so, as for the aspect of being a teammate, I have really, really learned so much from just the rule aspect of things, and how to prep my dog for certain exercises, following exactly what he's done. I mean, obviously my obedience is my obedience, but my prep lines to my starts, how I walk on the field now, is literally all taken from him. And I will give the credit where credit is due. We definitely bump our heads, and I feel like now I know a little bit more. So sometimes maybe I'm a little bit more bold in putting my foot down if he tries to tell me something. But we've both grown, I think, to adapt to each other. Chad obviously is probably the most accomplished person in ring sport in the USA, right? With all of his accomplishments, but I can now, if he's doing something that I'm like, he can't do that, or he's just getting frustrated because, we all do. I can look at him and be like, stop. Don't do this. Go take a breath. We'll come back to it, and he'll actually listen to me. I don't think he would have done that 5 years ago when we first met in the slightest, but I absolutely can tell him to knock it off now and to like pay attention and as for he can do this to me, to an extent. We don't like that we can do that to each other, but we listen, So I think being able to adapt makes you a good teammate. I think in general, he hit the nail on the head with it. Okay, being a teammate is difficult, but also being a significant other in that as well. But even my club members now, I mean, my really, really good friend Summer, she's a phenomenal, phenomenal handler. She's won the NARA championship with her dog Gus. She's got a son of Maestro now, and he's very different from her old dog. And I feel like in the beginning, I even though I've accomplished a good amount in the sport now, they're still like, well, okay, I don't want to step on toes, but I can also see the things that she's struggling with this dog, because it's very similar to what I dealt with Maestro, and it's a son of him, So
Yes.
we've all kind of come full circle in that none of us take offense in our team if I go up to her and tell her something, even though, up until a year ago, she technically had more experience than me, with this sport. And it's not an ego thing. It's, hey, I'm watching your training. You're watching my training. I'm seeing things that you may not notice you're doing. And I think that finding a group of people that you get along with really well, but like Chad said, your training kind of aligns, like your goals are the same, is very, very important, because you're just not going to get where you need to be if, some of your club members are, I don't want to say, but like half-assing, we all have to have the same goals. And that's, I think, really where you kind of set everyone up for success.
And again, just to generalize, to elaborate on that, as far as it goes, just not even just her and I as a team, but just a team, a club in general,
Yeah.
is just the involvement. Like, in other words, I know, like, my club knows, even though one person's running the horn, I've got 6 other people out there. Everyone needs to be upfront, involved, paying attention to what's happening, asking questions, being on deck with their dog, that type of stuff. And that right there is what also, how I can get a very, very good gauge of who's really in this and who's not. You know what I mean? You get the people
Yeah.
that go up and they get their dog worked, and then it just turns into social hour. Okay, that's great, but that doesn't work with what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And
Oh, yeah.
those are the people that need to be on board, and everyone needs to be held accountable and have to understand that they have the parts and necessities that they need to abide by as well. So, for instance, we work on this today. Perfect. Go home and read the rule book. And now these things are going to make much more sense to you. And next week when we work on it, we're now going to reapply it this way. Or again, it's not just a one-way street. Like, you got to do your part. You got to go home and work on these things with your dog. Change the positions we're working on with this dog right now in our club. Like, that's not going to get fixed by coming out to club twice a week. You need to work that every day at home, if not twice a day, and create a 5-10 minute session out of this if we want to get past this point. And if those people, and I know, and I say it in the pet dog business, is that the best part about any dog that I work with, or any dog I do follow up with outside of the business here, or excuse me, after they go home from a board and train or lessons, whatever the case is, the dog will always tell me if you've done your homework or not. The dog will always give me the truth. Like, I'll always see it, whether you think you've been working or not. I'll be able to see in that dog of what you've actually been applying and what you've been doing. And that's big. And that's how my team has evolved. And I'm very proud of them for, it sounds, some people will listen to me have this conversation, and like what I just chatted about with you a couple minutes ago. And some people are, man, that guy's way too intense for me. That doesn't even sound like fun working with a guy like that. But again, you need to take a step back and reevaluate. Like, what do you understand what you're doing? You are competing in martial arts for dogs. Do you think that this is going to be easy? Do you think there are going to be rough patches? Do you think that there's going to be some headaches along the way? Do you think there's going to be some outstanding victories along the way and success and champagne showers and all that fun stuff? Sure, you can get a balance of all of that, but for as much success, and going back to what I was saying earlier, as much success as I've had, I can guarantee you I've probably had just as much, if not more, failure, believe it or not.
Excellent, excellent. I wanted to go into some rapid fire questions. So this is like a lightning round, and I'd like to hear from both of you. So some of them will be French ring related, and some of them will be fun. But the first thing, while we're kind of into the still a little bit of the French ring and just trying to help people be successful, one word that defines success.
Tenacity.
All
Gotta
right,
do a big
best.
Yeah, I got.
I'd say Carly won that round.
I
I love that
yours might
answer.
sound like a smarter word, but at least mine was like, I'm like, all right, it's rapid fire. I got to think quick.
I'm not rapid fire. I'm over here choking on my tongue.
All right, this one, it might be a little harder. I don't know. Best advice in 6 words or less. So, best advice in a few words, basically.
How you hand. That's
I know,
gonna be
now
like
I'm like
8 words.
6 words. Put the time in.
Success is based on how you handle failure.
That's more than 6 words.
Success is based on how you handle 7, 8 words.
Oh my
Close
gosh,
enough.
okay.
Close enough. I think we're good. All right, favorite exercise to train.
Object guard.
Retrieves.
Least favorite.
Positions.
I'm with you there.
Come on, it's
I'm
a
just
speed
trying to think.
round.
I know. I'm thinking about too much. Search
Everyone
and
says
escort.
positions. Really?
Search and escort. Yeah.
Oh, I love that one. No, it's
Yeah.
positions. Everybody says positions.
Positions.
Favorite decoy.
Trial or training?
They're
Training,
both
trial
different. Yeah.
Trial decoy.
Okay, trial decoy.
Phil Ryder.
Adele Sadi.
I was doing just USA.
Oh.
Sorry.
I got to hear training decoy though, because it is different. You're building the dog up more.
David Broderick or my husband. I have to say my husband because he'll get offended probably. David Broderick.
I'll say David
Broderick.
You can't take mine.
All right. Hardest exercise to train in French ring.
Object guard.
And it's your favorite.
Or search and escort, I would say too. That one takes a long time.
Most underrated piece of equipment.
Most underrated piece of equipment.
Yeah,
Flexi.
you can. Okay.
I was gonna say a leash.
A flexi.
Yeah, I was gonna say a leash.
I hate flexis more than you can ever imagine, but for what I use them for,
Object guard.
object or defensive handler, retrieves, positions, all those things. So many things I use.
Like for the opposition.
Just opposition.
Chewing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Stabilize. One training myth you wish would disappear.
Oh gosh, why does my brain go here? You go first.
I'm trying to think of
that people that are successful in the sport only do well when they compete on their own home field.
Good one. She's really good at this rapid fire.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I would have said it faster, but I'm like, do I want to say it? It might trigger some people, but I decided to say it anyways.
Training myth.
It can be a disadvantage because the dog, they've had other types of repetitions on their home field.
Actually, her dog and my dog now, our 2 dogs now, both in level 3, obviously. The worst training sessions they ever have is on our home field.
Always.
Yep.
Even trials, I feel like they don't do well on our home fields.
I'm trying to think of a training myth still.
Oh my gosh. We're going to be here for another 10 minutes and it's not a speed round anymore. All right.
I'm thinking on something along the lines of it's kind of more of a general, not necessarily training, but like myths of people that, oh, you have to have a dog that does X, Y, and Z in order to do this sport. You know, like I've seen people that have done wonders in this sport with a dog that doesn't have the same qualities or things, but they have outstanding training. You know what I mean? So it's like you have to have this in order if you want to compete in French ring. Yes, it helps, but believe it or not, you have very good training. I've seen dogs that probably should have never made it past a ring 1 do very well in ring 3 because they have some outstanding training.
Like maybe a border collie doing Schutzhund.
Yep.
Wasn't that your
Yep.
first intro into the sports?
Yeah.
It stuck out like a sore thumb.
I bet. One piece of advice for someone entering their first trial.
I already know what he's going to say.
What am I going to say?
Slow down.
Even I know that.
Slow down.
I would say don't put a time frame on when you feel like you need to step on the field. Because I feel like a lot of people, like it says in the rule book, your dog has to be 1 year old in order to compete. And then I feel like people get in their head, they're like, my dog's going to turn 1. I have to go compete it. There's plenty of people that don't step on the field until their dog's 2 years old.
Or 4 or 5 or 6.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't rush it, I guess, is my advice. You still gonna
slow down.
You're gonna yours is slow down like when you're competing, like on the field.
No, but also right before you step on the field.
Yeah, I guess slow down on the field and slow down to get on the field.
To get to the field. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, last one, and I love this question. One word that describes Maestro.
I was gonna say
unicorn.
Yeah, unicorn. I was gonna say big heart, but that's 2 words.
That works though.
Yeah,
I love it.
Unicorn.
I love it.
A literal unicorn.
Cool answers. Well, can you share before we wrap up how folks can reach you at Hunter Canine?
Yep. So my Instagram handle is Hunter Canine. There's 2. There's one for the pet business, Hunter Canine spelt out, and there's Hunter K and the number 9. That's my personal handle on Instagram. That's how most people will like reach out to me. They'll see some things I post through stories and they'll kind of reach out, message through there. They're welcome to reach out for me through there. Also, I'm on Facebook. Anyone that's in the dog industry, it should be pretty easy for them to find me on Facebook. They're happy. They can happily message me, reach out to me there. And the same thing for Carly. Facebook. Perfect. She asked the question of what people could reach out.
Yeah. My Facebook is Carly Elizabeth. And then I don't remember what my Instagram is.
And the website for your breeding program, is it different than Hunter Canine, or can they find?
Yeah, no. So Hunter Canine is the pet business itself. So that's just like the board and trains and all the pet dog training. And then it's chasseurmalinois.com, CHASSEUR Malinois.com. And that's the breeding website with all of our dogs posted on it. And also we have the Instagram as well, Chasseur Malinois Instagram, which people could find on Instagram as well.
Perfect. And we're going to wrap up. Stay on, though, at the end, because I do want to make sure you're fully uploaded. But is there anything else, Carly or Chad, that you guys would like to share? And who is visiting us?
This is Maestro.
My goodness. He would like to share. Look at those eyes. He's just the sweetest little boy.
I told you he's very special.
Oh, wow. Well, I think that's a great way to wrap it up. What a sweet face. He's a good boy.
Sorry, what was you just asked a question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we got all distracted there. Is there anything else that you'd like to add as we wrap up?
No, this was fun. It was different from the one with Ivan, and I liked the questions that you asked. It was a lot of fun. So thank you for having us.
No, it was great for sure.
Awesome.
Thank you for
Thanks, you
everything.
guys. Thank you. And I'm so glad Maestro was able to join us at the end there too. So
I'm like, this will be a
thank
good
you.
touch.
Thank you also to our
And,
listeners. And I'll make sure to put all the websites and such in the description. And again, I'm Lianne Shinton from Automation Dogs. And thank you everybody for listening.
thank you, everybody.
Thank you.